Did you know avoiding just one common home buying mistake could save you hundreds of dollars, endless headaches, and also set you up for financial success? Stay tuned because today I'm going to unveil some of the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing home buyers make in today's market. And believe me when I tell you, you do not want to find out the hard way. That's right, folks. So as mentioned, I'm going to go over some of the most common mistakes that I'm seeing buyers make. And hopefully these mistakes, after watching this video, will be mistakes that you avoid because you're going to know that much more about buying real estate in 2023. All right, so what are some of the mistakes that I'm seeing? Well, as I mentioned, there are a few, and these aren't in any special order, but one of the mistakes that I'm seeing buyers make is that there's too much emphasis on the house and they forget to pay attention to the neighborhood. Now, I know that inventory is limited and homes are selling fast. A mistake that I'm seeing buyers make in general is that they're losing sight of where they want to be. And again, I know the market's challenging, but if you're gonna go into a different neighborhood, make sure you're taking the time to do some research or some due diligence so that you're not buying a home in a neighborhood that you're gonna hate in a year. Another one that I'm seeing, which kind of ties into the last mistake, is that buyers aren't taking into consideration resale value. Now, yes, your home is a place that you should love and feel comfortable and all of those good things, but your home is also an investment at the end of the day. So as you start to relax some of your criteria, i.e. location, just make sure that you're thinking about what your plan is in a few years and think about what will the home rent for if you're going to rent it. Will that rent be enough for you to make the next move? Are you going to sell it in the next few years? We'll take a look at the way the market is shaping up and how the market is appreciating or maybe lack thereof, and factor that into your decision. But moral of the story is to think about what the resale value, or to take into consideration resale value, because as I mentioned, your home is also an investment. Now, this one is huge, and I don't think that this is a mistake that buyers are making in 2023. This is a mistake that I've seen buyers make, well, for quite some time, and that is waiting to put 20% down to buy a home. And I emphasize the word waiting. Now, if you have 20% to put down and you want to put 20% down, then have at it. I totally understand the advantage of not having a PMI, but if you don't have 20% down and you actually are in a position to buy a home, waiting to buy a home till you have 20% down is actually doing you a disservice. Right now, homes are appreciating so fast that, well, you're actually going to pay much more for a home down the road if you wait till you accumulate 20%. There are ways, especially if you're buying a home and using a conventional loan, there are ways to have that PMI removed from your payment generally within a few years. So sit with a loan officer, sit with someone to kind of help you see the big picture. But if you're interested in buying a home, waiting until you have 20% down is a huge mistake that I see buyers make over and over again. Now, this next mistake it's unfortunate because I feel as though this is also an area where your realtor or your team that you put in place to help you make this purchase, they should be bringing these things to your attention. But a lot of people don't understand the true cost of home ownership. Yes, you have your mortgage payment, and that's usually the focus or the talking point when it comes to figuring out what you can afford. But you also need to determine whether or not you're buying a home that's in some sort of an association, whether it's a condo or a homeowners association. And if so, take into consideration the fees that are affiliated with living in those communities. You also need to take into consideration cost to keep the house warm in the winter and cool during the summer. And if you own a home, well, you're responsible for the upkeep. Things like your roof, your windows, your mechanics, such as your heater and electric panel. These things may either need to be replaced or repaired over time. So make sure that you understand in advance the cost of home ownership, because you don't want to have to find out the cost of replacing a roof or even something as small as a hot water heater at the wrong time. And a lot of the times when things go wrong, well, we may not be prepared or in the best position to take care of those things, but at least it softens the blow if you fully understand or take into consideration the cost, the additional cost that comes with homeownership. Over the last few years, this next mistake isn't really a mistake that I saw previous to the pandemic, and hopefully this mistake is short-lived, but I'm seeing a lot of buyers waive or overlook contingencies that they should have when they buy a home. I mean, this is a huge purchase. Whether it's an investment property or a property that you plan to live in, this is something that, well, you want to know what it is you're getting involved with. So I've seen a lot of buyers waive home inspections, radon inspections, termite, septic inspections, the laundry list goes on. And I can promise you that this is probably one of the biggest and most costly mistakes that buyers are making. If you buy a property, there are creative ways that you can make an offer without giving up your contingencies. And I highly encourage for you to exercise all the options you possibly can that will allow for you to buy a home with contingencies, most importantly, inspections. Now, as a parent, this next mistake, I can't say it's my favorite mistake, but as a realtor, it's a mistake that I see all the time. And that is you're taking advice from all the wrong people. Now, I understand that mom and dad only want the best for you. As a parent, I only want the best for my children as well. But the house that you plan on buying isn't mom and dad's house. This is your home. And a lot of times, dad who may think he's a contractor, or mom who may think she's the interior decorator, a lot of times they are flat out wrong. Some of the advice that I've heard parents or even friends give to some of my clients is just absolutely insane. Like this, the reason you're not going to buy the home that you love is from some of the mediocre advice that you're getting from your parents who aren't in real estate. They're not contractors. They're not financial advisors. They're none of the above. Really, all they are, well, aside from parents, are people with opinions. And like I've been told my entire life, opinions are like, we all have one, and a majority of the time, they stink. So make sure when you're buying a home, it's great to take into consideration some of the things that mom and dad may be telling you, or maybe even your close friend, but go with your gut and go with the professionals who are advising you correctly. I love you, mom and dad. Don't take that the wrong way. Now, I know you've heard this one a million times, and chances are in this current environment, too many people aren't making this mistake, but it's still being made. And that's buyers are entering the market without having an approval. They're entering the market with really no information at all. They assume that they might know what they can qualify for, and hopefully realtors aren't showing buyers homes if they're not qualified. Right? Maybe meeting a buyer at a home for the first time to do some exploration is one thing, but carting buyers around and showing them homes when they're not approved is a huge disservice. So if you're a realtor and you're doing that, stop. But if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy a home, before you call me or any other realtor, the first thing you should be doing is really identifying your budget. I say identify your budget before you even go to get pre-approved. Because when your lender starts asking you questions, hopefully they're asking you questions like, what's the most that you want to pay for a home that you absolutely fall in love with? Now, of course, the goal is to keep your payment underneath that, but we should be talking about the maximum level of comfort that you have when it comes to making a mortgage payment. Because if you go back to the other points in this video, taking into consideration things like maintenance, deferred maintenance, and other living expenses is extremely important. So make sure that you start with a budget, but before you start looking at homes, make sure that you have a pre-approval. And maybe having more than just one financing option isn't a bad idea in this environment either. And here's the last mistake that I'm seeing. And I don't think this one's gonna go anywhere, but being too emotional when it comes to real estate will have you make all of the wrong decisions. Definitely try your best to separate your emotion from your purchase. Now, investors are great when it comes to this. For them, it's all about business. It doesn't matter whether or not they get the deal or not. And I say that loosely because, again, they're stepping up to the plate with the intention to buy the property. But they approach everything from a non-emotional standpoint, which really helps them make the best decisions. So when you're buying a home, make sure that you separate from the emotional decisions that could send you making some poor, really, really poor decisions that you're going to regret down the road. So those are the mistakes that I'm seeing. Do me a favor. Let me know what mistakes you are seeing or mistakes you possibly have made. Once again, I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead. Once again, I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead. Oh, and before any of that, do me a favor. If you are interested, in the description, there's a link to download our buyer guide designed to help you get in the doors of your next home. And with all of that said, I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers. Until next time. Helping buyers and sellers here in the greater Philadelphia area. Until next time, take care.